I'm back.
Every time I walk out that door, every time I interact with anybody new, my purpose is to help change.
It's time to celebrate life. If you know that you're in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know you want better for your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you have what it takes to be in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you are not just trying to be good for you, but for those around you, it's time to stand up. As a matter of fact, look to the person to your left and tell them you are enough.
I want to help you change, and just like you change, every time I interact with somebody, they help me change. It's no different than if I met an individual and they had 4 quarters and they needed change, or if I had $1 and they had 4 quarters, I need to change. We can swap the money. The value is still the same. They still got $1, I still got $1, but we both exchanged something, and it was a change for both of us. So every time I walk out that door, I inspire to help change lives just as much as lives have changed me.
Y'all been listening to the wrong people, watching the wrong things all your life, and it's time to put to rest all those negative thoughts, because you are enough. It's time to put to rest that self-doubt, because you are enough. It is time to get rid of that negative energy, because you are enough. It is time to stop listening to people that don't have the best interests of you in your life, because you are enough. So let's have a moment of silence. I want everybody to understand that you are the person that's in charge of your life. Everything that you have inside of you to be who you're supposed to be in life. You have a destiny, and that destiny can only be accomplished through you, by you, and only you, with the help of God. When you realize that you are the person you are, because you're not a carbon copy, there's only one you. They try to put you in a box. Society tries to put you in a box, but you can't be in a box. How can you be in a box when there's only one you? But then they tell you, think outside the box. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there is no box.
I want to pass on the things that I have to the generations behind me. By the time it's time for me to get called home and go to the grave, I want to be empty. I believe in bankrupting the cemetery, so I can't take this knowledge with me, because the cemetery is already full of brilliant ideas and unwritten books and innovative ideas. I can't take this with me, so I'm trying to leave it all here as Billy Graham Jr. to the next generation so somebody else can carry it on. Happy New Year. We are here 2023. Man, it is a blessing to be back on here, because, man, I missed y'all. I missed y'all since last year. I just couldn't wait to get back on and come talk to the family. Man, it's welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody that's joining in. And, man, we have a treat. We have a guest today. This is amazing, brother. Man, the things that he is doing, not just for his family, but for the community and for the people of the future. Amazing individual. The individual I have today, they're an expert in just education, helping school leaders, teachers, students achieve their success. And today, he's going to help us learn how to achieve our success. So without further ado, let's kick this new year off right. I have to bring to you the one, the only, Jorge Valenzuela.
Hey, Billy, that is quite an intro, but your intro video, man. I want to be like you, bro.
Man, I got you on here trying to be like you, so maybe we can meet in the middle.
You know what I'm saying? But that's a beautiful video, man. Like, it's so inspiring. Like, I was bopping my head the whole time. I was like, yeah, I want to get down with you, man. That was great.
It's crazy how this works, because I've seen clips of you rock the stage, and I'm sitting there like, man, how do I get like this? Man, what you're doing is just so passion filled, so innovative. Before I even get started, because I can go on about this. Before I get started, can you tell the world, who is Jorge?
Who's George? Well, first I want to shout out our boy Ursher. or it's your digital, he got you and I together, so we got to say what up to him.
Yep, yep.
Who's George? Well, that's a loaded question, right? Because so if we're talking in the physical sense, right, which that's what you mean. So I'm from Far Rockaway, Queens, New York. I'm a Hispanic male. Um, I'm 47 years old, and I'm an educator. Well, first, I'm a man of God. I'm a
Yes.
believer. I'm a family man, and I'm an educator, lifelong learner. Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell. It's a lot of layers there, but in a nutshell, if that's like my mission statement, well, that's it.
Well. You see, you're not opening up that rabbit hole, and you say it's a loaded question. So we want you to fire because you say it's layers, and I want you to tell us those layers because so many people out there just see the surface of who they are. They
Oh
never
yeah.
really dig deep into who they are, so that they can go out and fulfill their purpose like you are. So tell us those layers because
Yeah.
that's what got you to where you are.
So it's so interesting you say that. So I'm very passionate about education, teaching and learning. And education, it really requires us to understand the science of teaching and learning, right? It's a science, but it's also an art. It's the way that you do your own thing, right? And so for a long time, I'd say in the past 10 years, up until like 2020, I basically shut off George. And if you go down my social media before like last year, you really see nothing personal, right? You just
Yep,
see
yep,
only my work. And what I've realized is what you said, that if you don't show a little bit of yourself and who you are, and who you are is your brand, and
yep.
you have a brand whether you are in business or not. It's what people think of when they see you or when they hear of you. And so, speaking like that, well, hip hop is my culture.
Yep.
Um, I'm from Queens, New York, obviously. So I'm very inspired by um, hip hop culture in general, like, rap music, haircuts,
Yep.
our cultural assets, our change, our
Yep.
interests, stuff like that. And I'm also learning more about my Hispanic culture, which is from Texas. I have a dad that's from Texas, and he passed away, and my mom is from Colombia. So I've traveled over there starting in 2020, and I've learned more of where I'm from. So I grew up in a group home.
Okay.
Um, I'm in high school, and so I was one of those kids that I didn't end up in jail or juvie, nothing like that. I didn't do anything heinous, but I was too old to really be like in a foster home. So I was in a group home where I was on lockdown at night, but I would go to school during the day.
Wow.
And so I had really great teachers, and I had, just a lot of people that over the years poured into me that weren't family, like by like a bloodline, but they
Yep.
became family. And I think it's because of them and their prayers that I'm doing what I'm doing now. But whenever I'm into something, I'm all the way in. And so education, when I just as a little kid, I always excelled in school. Don't know why, but it was inside of me. And what my teachers did back then in the 80s is they gave us a very strong foundation in reading, writing, and mathematics. So I had the foundation. All I
Yep.
had to do was learn how to learn. And
Yes.
so I've been doing that ever since. And so I've been killing the game that way because once you have a passion and you become an expert in your passion and you flip it to help other people, now you have a purpose.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and so I've tapped into both of those things, and that's enabled me to tap into creativity. I'm helping the world, but I've also have breaking the cycle of poverty in my bloodline. I've changed, like, so 17% of Hispanic American males, that's one out of every six, can expect to be incarcerated.
Wow.
One out of every three African American, and one out of every 17 white American. So for my demographic, that's 17% of us. My dad, and I want to say most of my uncles, like almost all of them, have all been arrested at least once in their lifetime. And two of my uncles have done hard time. And my mom has done, time in Rikers Island.
Wow.
So I broke that cycle in my own family, establishing generational wealth, owning property, having a business, doing things in a different way. So yeah, so it's a lot of layers, man.
No.
I'm not really sure like how to
No.
go, but what I do know is that the stories that we've overcome, or the traumas, or the trials, are meant for other people to hear them, because if they see any parallel in their story to our story, then that's like inspiration,
Yep.
motivation, and then steps that they can take as well.
I didn't, for one, I didn't know those statistics. For two, I commend you from you already had the deck stacked against you. And
Oh
for
yeah,
you to still overcome and show that there's still a possibility, because like you said, you had the teachers taught you that foundation. You were
right.
able to get back to learn your culture, where your people from. Texas boy here. So I understand, like, we have, it doesn't matter what playing field you start from. With the numbers that you gave, it shows that you have to get ahead by any means necessary, and you will face obstacles and hurdles along the way, and you overcame those. That's amazing. So even though the teachers gave you the foundation, where along that path did you say, I'm good at education? Because I heard you say passion, and I'm a firm believer in the PPP loan. I say it's the passion that fuels the purpose, but you have to have a plan, a PPP loan. Like, so your passion fuels your purpose, and when you put it with a plan, what was that the deciding factor that says I'm sticking with education?
Oh, education. So it's weird, right? So first off, for anyone listening, right? I don't think everyone is going to discover their passion in life. I don't
Right.
think that, based on all the schools I'm in and all the people that I meet, not everyone is going to find that one thing. And when you define what passion is a compelling enthusiasm. It's
Yes.
something that you can't stop thinking about. It's something that you don't need anyone to wake you up in the morning for, right? And so if we're lucky in life, we're able to travel a road where we can find that. And for me, because I was always academically inclined, I've been blessed to explain things in a way where most people can understand it,
Yeah.
right? And I brought down those stats for you because I'm a researcher and I'm a writer. And then I have to explain that to people in a compelling way. So I can give you the research or the science part, right? But then
Yep.
I can give it in my own flavor, like in my own swag, right? And so what I'll say is this, is that I went to school for business and for computer science.
Okay.
And my dearest auntie, Mrs. Best, and she passed away about 7 years ago. And she was a teacher, and she would braid hair in her kitchen every day. And, as her part-time job, her side hustle. And she would say to me, she's like, boy, you just have a unique way of explaining things. You need to be a teacher, and I could put you on to this. And back then, I was in poverty. So being in poverty, money was was like my main focus.
Yep.
But there's one thing I had that a lot of the population, for some reason, it's not instilled. I'm not sure why, but you said it in your video, helping other people. And when you're inclined to want to help other people, naturally, you're going to be fulfilled and you're going to
Yeah.
have a purpose, right? It's better when your passion fuels that. But if you don't
Yeah.
have a passion, all you got to do is just help somebody. That's
That's
it. That's it. Rory Vaden, who's the CEO of Brand Builders, says, you are always powerfully positioned to help the person you used to be. So all you have to ask yourself is, what have I overcome?
Man.
What path have I traveled and succeeded? What trauma have I healed? And so at one time, I was a struggling college student. I was a youth that was in a group home. I can help those people now because I overcame those things. One time, I was a struggling teacher. I was a struggling administrator. Now I'm not. I overcame that. So that's who I can help. Now I'm finding that I can help other entrepreneurs. I'm 5 years in the game. What a lot of people don't know by looking at my social media is that I spent first 5 years learning how to coach adults. That's the first thing. And that's not easy. Then I spent 5 years on the road learning how to be a consultant. That's 10 years. Then after those 10 years, then I established a business, lifelong learning defined. And now it's 5 years later. So now I have entrepreneurs asking me, how do you do this? How do you do that? And so here's the thing. You really don't need steps. You just need
Okay.
passion to start.
Wow.
And if it I would say this, if finances are an issue, you will have your hustling season. It will be about that.
Yeah.
But but it can't be about that. Snoop Dogg said, I love rap more than I love money. I love rap more than I love fame. And so you can't go into a job or you can't go into a situation being about the money. At some point, it's got to be about the love, it's got to be about the passion, and then eventually is a way to unite and help other people. And so, as long as you have passion
Hmm.
or an interest or you want to help other people, you will start on your journey. Now, once you go on your journey, like Lao Tzu said, um, when the student is ready, the master appears.
Yep.
And so my masters have appeared along the way. And it's so crazy. I was invited to do a keynote in Portland at a computer science institute symposium. And I was like, man, so, computer science was my major. I've done a lot of work in CS, but that's not where all my work is today, right? I'm very steeped in pedagogy. So I called up a friend of mine, Victoria Thompson. She's at Microsoft. And I was like, sis, what new technologies should I be talking about? And she was like, George, you clearly are an example of someone who tapped into their passion and have become something. Talk about that because that's what people need. Young people need that. And so after mapping my own journey backwards, I basically have 5 steps for it. And it's an article which I'm going to drop into the chat right now. And it says that it's for kids, but really any adult can map that backwards. And so, you want me to tell you what they are? Is
Yes.
that
Yes.
cool?
Please.
All right. So now the first thing is this: don't start with passion. Start with being happy. Now, there's a lot of research that shows what external factors make a person happy. Have you ever heard that money doesn't bring happiness?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, it's a lie. It does. there's research, there's research that shows, but it can't just be about money because eventually more money, more problems, right? Okay. So so here's the thing. People need to know how to help themselves. What can they do to make themselves happy? So happiness can also come from within.
Okay.
There's research to support that, and it's in the article that I put in the chat. Research shows that happiness or joy can come from within by doing things you like to do. And the same thing with stress. Stress can come from outside factors, right? It can come from a baby mom. It can
Yeah,
come from your wife or from an ex or from your child or from your job or from your boss. But it can also come from within when you're faced with things you don't want to do.
exactly.
So just sit down and map out what stresses me out internally and what makes me happy. And then start doing the things that make you happy. It's that simple. But here's the thing though, we have to learn how to rest and be happy the same way we have to learn how to work, because the same energy required to do work is the same energy that's required to be happy and to rest.
Man.
Think about it. If you're going on vacation, you got to get the outfits, you got
Yep.
to get your jewelry right, your
Yep.
sneakers right, you got to get the airplane. I mean, it's so much you got to figure out. You you see what I'm saying? So you got to
Yes.
actively work on that. Now that you've done that, now you can start to work on passion. So there's a difference. Passion is an enthusiasm, it's a compelling enthusiasm that you can't shake. That's not the same thing as love. It's
It's
two
not.
it's two different things, right? So now you got to ask yourself, okay, I don't know what my passion is, but here's a few questions. What can't I stop thinking about? What is the thing that if I had the power to change, because it really bothers me, what is that thing? What is the thing that I would do for free if money wasn't an object?
Yes.
Right. And then you start to realize, okay, maybe it's this thing, maybe it's that thing. Right. Now, here's the thing, you may not find something, but that's okay. Passion can be cultivated from exploring an interest too. So, what are the interests? And now, let's say you can't find anything. Then you skip to step number 5, which is just to help the person you used to be. Because helping people is such a powerful thing that you don't even need to to have a passion
Exactly.
to help somebody and be fulfilled. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I see it. I totally get it.
Right. So now, once you have your passion, step 3 is now make a goal. Now, when you make a goal, you don't have to know exactly how you're going to get there. And that's where a lot of people mess up, because a lot of people, well, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I can't quantify that, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. If you
I
haven't
call I call
achieved
them majority and minority.
if you haven't achieved things that you thought are great, you may not realize that every journey starts with a destination, like when you get in the car. But the purpose of the GPS is because you don't know how to get there. You know where you
Yes.
want to go, but not how. And that's the thing that we shouldn't worry about how at first. Is the destination. Now, once we have destination, that's where manifestation really comes in. And so manifestation has a lot of different meanings, but what I'm talking about is being able to think about something and bring that into reality. So the first thing is this is when you're working on your goal. First thing is pay attention to your recurring thoughts. What's coming up over and over and over
Yeah.
again? Your intuition, it's your gut.
Yep.
Science also says that we have thinking cells in the gut. That's crazy. Like I would have never thought that, but you can look that up. Right. So so whatever is popping up, of this course to take, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Number 2 is talk about it, speak it into existence, but map it out.
Map it out.
Not just talk about it. A lot of people talk about it or they put it on a vision board. And I'm not saying that doesn't work, but I'm trying to give you like some strategies that are engineering strategies as well, like in the design world, right?
Yes.
And
I get
so
it.
and so when you're mapping it out, get advice from an expert or experts, people that already accomplished what you want to accomplish. Talking to anybody else is going to waste your time.
It really will.
It will be because they're only giving you advice from their own experience. And if they've haven't experienced what you want to experience, then you're wasting your time. Like, Jay-Z said that when he was going to open up Rockefeller, he, he was talking to his uncle, and his uncle was like, "Start your own label? You can't do that." That's what he said. He said, "You can't do it." And now look at what he's become, right? So you don't ever listen to anyone that can't really guide you. And then it's the third step of manifestation is implementation. And when you're in implementation, you're still learning from experts, but you're monitoring your energy.
Okay.
Monitoring your energy, because see, energy is either positive or it's negative. And if you're listening to the right people, you're failing forward, you're on your mission and your goal every day, and you're learning a little bit and you're seeing little successes, you'll be positive. But if you're not failing forward, right, and you
Yeah.
don't have the right people in your life, or let's say you have a bad day, then you feel negative. So you got to be able to take yourself out of that. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay not to have a plan out.
Yes.
It's just not okay. And so now the fourth step is to master your passion. And a very simple framework that's by Malcolm Gladwell. It's in the book Outliers. Is the 10,000 hour rule. It's
Okay.
3 hours a day, 20 hours a week for 10 years. And the research says that in those 10,000 hours, for you to become an expert, you need to do two things: get instruction from an expert or experts, and practice. And Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, anyone that's ever mastered anything at a high level. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure. And in the book, it says they got those 10,000 hours in common, right? And then the final step is just now take your passion or your expertise and what you're good at, what you can offer the world, and use it to help other people. And just as a reminder, let's say you don't have a passion. In step two, you're like, I don't know what it is. That's cool. Just skip down to 5 and just help other people. That's it.
It's amazing you listed out the 5 steps, because I don't want anybody to miss anything you say, because it was certain things within inside of those 5 steps that people need to really, really understand. Because sort of like what you do, like you're able to hear stuff and say it a different way or get people to understand it. That's how my mind works as well. And so when you're telling people about their passion, their purpose and everything, and about just helping others, I tell people all the time, the person that you are today is the person that you needed somewhere along your path.
Oh, yeah.
You became that person. Like if you needed a strong, like I look at the wonderful women of the world today, and they're like, they're strong, they're this. And I'm like, at some point in your life, you had to be that strong person, but nobody was there for you. Somebody wasn't there for you financially. So when you came up, you figured out how to be financially dependent. The person you are now, literally, as we talking today, you told us about your upbringing. The person you are now, you have positioned yourself, family man and everything like that, for something that you needed in your past. And so many people have that. And then when you're talking about, I loved it when you use the destination, your journey, but you get in the car and you don't know how you're going to get there. You know the end destination. And I refer to that as your GPS, your goals, purpose, and strategy. Because you have to have a goal, you have a purpose, but what's your strategy for getting to that end goal? And when you said the map out your mapping everything out, I'm like, that's the GPS. You have to have these things. And then I have to bring this up because you said the 10,000 hour, and so many people do not realize they are already walking around masters. The same thing you already said, 3 hours a day, 20 hours a week, 10 years. And I'm looking at people like, do you know You've literally been drawing since you were 10. Now you're 25 and you used to draw all day. Like you've been drawing for 15 years. Or the people that's been singing. I seen you in that church choir singing every Sunday. You were singing at home, singing in the shower. You were singing at choir rehearsal. You've been doing this for 10 plus years. You're already a master. Like people are mastering things and they're like, I don't have a passion. I don't have a purpose. And I'm looking at them like you're literally living it. But because it comes so natural to you, you don't think it's a special gift. You think everybody can just walk around and sing and walk around and draw art. Man, you give me a piece of paper and a pencil right now and tell me to draw something, you're going to think a fourth grader drew it. Like, it's not going to happen because I'm not an artist. But people are walking around utilizing their gifts every single day that it align with their purpose, but they just don't see it. And like you said, people don't have that passion. And we have to find a way to connect those people. So if you're one of those people that are trying to figure out how you can help, start identifying people's purpose, because sometimes it's harder to see from within versus seeing from without. So help people find that passion and that purpose. But back to you, George. I got a question.
Well, look, I do want to say one thing though before you go there. I do want to say that even if you don't have steps in the beginning, right? If you're internally hearing over and over again, start a business, play basketball, right? Run track,
Yeah.
marry this person. If it's coming up over and over again, pursue that thing. And when you pursue something for the love of that thing and sincerely, all the steps that I just gave you will eventually come to you. You don't need me or someone else to break that down to you. Now, if you're asking for steps and you're looking actively, then we're the right people. So, reason why I'm saying this is because at one time we didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
You see what I
And
mean?
I still don't.
So we never want to sit up somewhere and be like, well, I got this on lock. No,
Never
it's not
that.
like that. Because see, the average person, sees something like that, and they're like, well, I can't do that, and that's not really what we're trying to promote here. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead, brother.
No. You're actually going right down that line because you said you got to pursue that. You got your degree in something totally different than where your life is taking you.
Yeah.
And then you said over that 10-year span, 10, you naming these different time periods. What? Because somebody out there is watching right now and they're like doing something that they might not feel aligned with.
Mhm.
What was that thing that made you transition from what you went to school for to go this route? And can you break down those different timelines to say how you got to the success that you are right now, starting
All right.
from scratch? Because we
All right.
all start from money. We want money. So how did you get there?
Yeah. So I'll say this, bro. So first, I just want to say this. There's an author named Eckhart Tolle, and you talk about faith a lot. And he says, you're always where you belong. That's why you're there.
I like
And the situation that's happening to you was made specifically for you. How do you know? It's happening to you. So, whenever you're in a situation like in a program or in a school or in a relationship or in a job that you're not feeling, well, the first thing you have to understand is that your choices and destiny have gotten you there. You belong there it's for a reason. But if you don't want to be in that situation, you have to ask yourself a couple of things. Number one, what am I supposed to learn here? Because if you don't learn it here, even if you leave here, you're going to meet another person that's going to be the same one you leaving or the same situation, because you will experience the lesson or you get the same lesson until you learn it. That's the way the universe and God works. That's
yes.
not going to change for no one. Okay. And let's say there's not a lesson that you have to learn here. What am I meant to help here? How can I contribute here? Those are the two questions. But if you look at a lot of people, that's not what they ask. They say, F my life.
Yeah.
Man, I hate this. Man. And so when you do that, when you talking like that, you know what the universe and life says? A
Yep.
word?
That's how you
Okay.
feel.
If you think that was rough, wait till next week. Wait.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I
So
get it.
so here's the thing. I started in computer science because that's what my people told me was the future. And because I was academically inclined, I excelled at that. I did well in my classes. I have a great transcript. I did internships. But as I was doing that, I really wasn't fulfilled. Like I wasn't happy doing that. When I became a teacher, though, well, what am I going to teach? What I'm licensed to do, which is computer science. That's what my license was in. So I always tell people, whatever you're licensed to do that, but just help people. And then if you're sincere in helping people, you don't need a lot of resources. You don't need a whole lot of nothing. You just need the man upstairs to help you and guide you. And people that, when we get out of our own way and we ask, who can I help? What am I supposed to learn here? When we do that, then the conditions are favorable. If you throw flowers in the air, flowers hit you in the head. You throw rocks in the air, sometimes boulders,
Yep.
hit you upside your head. That's what it is. And so, it's easier said than done. But if hindsight is 2020. Life can only be understood backwards, but you live it forwards.
Yes.
And so that's why we have to listen to people that have already lived there. Like the way I'm talking, I'm 47. At 37 is when I first started becoming smart. At 27, man, I was you can forget about it. you can forget about it. Like I was nowhere, man. Look, listen, and no one could tell me nothing back then, but thank God, man. That's all I gotta say. I was blessed. Like I met some good people. Um, very fortunate.
You, you're not by yourself, because I sit here and I say the exact same thing. Look back, if it wasn't for the military and my family, my wife and my kids, you talk about 27. If it wasn't for, at the time, it was just the two kids, but between the two kids, the wife and the military, if it wasn't for them, ooh, Lord, there's no telling what my life would have did or where it would have went. But
Oh yeah.
no, I agree with you, because so many of us, we watch people and they're like, why are this person doing this? Or why do they seem happy? They go get degrees and then all of a sudden they don't want them, or they go pursue that career based off that degree, and they're sitting at their cubicle wondering why they hate life. And I want people to understand, it's not that the people that were promoting and pushing you to go a certain direction, it's not that they don't care about you. I call it a safety net. So as parents, family members, and loved ones, they want to do what's best by you, but the safe way. Like, hey, go be a doctor. That's when you hear the doctor. Go be a lawyer. Like go be a teacher. They're finding the safe in their mind. That's the safe way to do things. When you're going out there trying to do entrepreneurs and all that, that's a journey that they're unfamiliar with. You heard what George said about Jay-Z when he mentioned that to his uncle. They can't see the vision, because that vision that you have in your head, God gave it to you. It wasn't a conference call. He didn't tell somebody else. He told you.
Yeah, and see, and the reason why Rockefeller was started, from what I understand, and if you're an entrepreneur, you got to listen to Dame Dash.
Yes.
Dame Dash. His podcasts are fire. And I would say, if you need entrepreneurial advice, this is the man right here. But anyway, Dame shopped Jay to all the major record labels. Everybody say he's too old.
Yeah.
He was like 25. And most of the rappers, when they start out, like they become famous, is 19, 18. Think of back then. Like, remember Special Ed? I mean, like he was like
Oh
17.
yeah. Yeah. I remember
Yeah,
special ed.
yeah. And so I do want to say one thing about Special Ed. So I've been listening to a few of his old tracks. The confidence and maturity for a 17-year-old. Wow. Mr. Magnificent, or I'm the Magnificent, and the mission, like the way he was rhyming was crazy. Well, anyway.
I remember one of mine was Big L, but that's a whole other conversation.
Oh yeah, Big L from Harlem. I mean, if he would have lived, I think he would have been like, Big Rock. Yeah, like he was amazing. Well, anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we good.
so I don't put So, oh yeah, I'm not putting special ed on Big L's or Cool G Raps or Rockin'.
No,
Like,
no, I get it. I get it. No, I get it. I get it.
but you start out young. So a lot of the record labels were like, "Nah, like we can't do this," right? And they started their own thing. And because they're starting their own thing, they're not being played on the radio. These dudes were walking into the radio stations and dropping 25 grand on the table, like, I need you to play the record. They
That's
opened
crazy.
up for Wu-Tang because they gave them a bag.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They did it their own way. And see, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't understand that, but if you're really passionate and serious about something, you're going to find a way to do it. And sometimes you got to do it by yourself because the world is going to tell you no. But that's the thing. If you're able to find someone that's already done it, then you have a blueprint. And that's why Jay called himself the blueprint. And
Wow.
if you think about it, would there be Drake without a Jay-Z?
No, it wouldn't
No.
be a lot of these young rappers without the old.
No. But I'm saying Drake, a person that's accomplished a
Oh
very
yeah, no, it wouldn't. Not at all.
right, because they wouldn't even know where to start.
It would still be, it'll still be like it used to be, like local to your city and your state, and that's about as far as it went.
Exactly.
It took a Jay-Z taking it to, like, we knew, don't get me wrong, we had the Big and Tupac, but they were in their area. It took a Jay-Z to take it all the way global. Like, I get it. Like, so many people don't see that.
Yeah.
And it's based off of what you said, that vision. And you said it like that blueprint. It's funny because I actually wrote a book on all this, that this little the segment we're on right now. I have a book called Mind Your Vision, Time to Focus, which I'll put that link in the description. But it basically is that blueprint of, you have a vision. These are the type of people that you're going to encounter in your life that are going to say these certain things. This is what it takes to make your vision a reality. These are the obstacles that you're going to do. Then it's followed by a step-by-step process of, this is what needs to be done to make your vision your reality. Whole process. But I'll put that link in the description because you just really said what everybody needs. And the amazing part, the amazing part about your journey that I love, like, you went through that, you found your passion and your purpose, and then you aligned it with teaching. So for somebody that's out there listening, you go in the classroom and you start teaching. How do you transition to where you're going around just all over the country, just speaking and coaching? And
Oh, okay.
how do you transition? Because most people think you're the teacher. You get in the classroom and you stay in the classroom 15, 20 years, retire, and now you're just going in and doing a sub. Like, how do you
Yeah.
because we got teachers out there too
No,
that want
no.
to transition out of that. Like, how do you get there?
Yeah. So honestly, that wasn't planned. Like, I'll be lying to you if I was like, yeah, like I planned it all out. No, no, it was not planned. So I became a district administrator at the central office in Richmond, Virginia, and I was responsible for 40 teachers. And so that was a challenge in itself because now I'm responsible to help them become better teachers.
Okay.
And if you don't know how to teach at a high level yourself, how can you help somebody else?
Exactly.
It's like I don't have $100, but I'm gonna give you $100. It just doesn't work that way. So I was very passionate about my job, and I had an interest in being a person that in education, what we call an instructional leader.
Okay.
It's a leader that leads by example. Leading means to go first. It doesn't mean to delegate. It means to go first. Now, sometimes you have to, delegate, but you have to be able to show your people what you want to see them do. So I sought out some organizations and I found one on the West Coast and I joined the cohort. It was 14 months and it was basically to become a master teacher.
Okay.
They didn't call it that, but that's what I was trying to do, right? It's basically being a good teacher is learning how to plan a good lesson for who's in your classroom, right?
Mhm.
And then how to facilitate it in an effective way using high yielding strategies, which means that strategies that influence high academic achievement, but also engagement, right?
Okay.
If kids are not engaged, then they're not going to want to learn. So,
Exactly.
right. So, I mean, you got to do both. Well, anyway, this organization started to send me out around the country. And it was something inside me that said, you have to do this. And as I was doing it, I'd be extremely nervous at first. Like I'd be like, oh my God, like I'd be shook out of my mind. In fact, and this is for anyone that's out there watching, when I would do podcasts, I'd be shook, just nervous, anxiety. But once I got in there, I would crush it because the passion, it takes over. And then there's a magic there. Like, Quincy Jones, he told the Fresh Prince when he was nervous in his audition, just do you and let the
Yeah.
universe make the magic. Just say what you got to say. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead. Well, anyway, I would do the workshops and I would kill it. I mean, every time. And as I'm meeting people, like, people saying, yo, this was crazy. Like, this was life class. Like, this was deep. Like, this was not just your normal workshop. Um, it's transformational. And transformational means that something inside you changes. And when
Yeah.
something inside you changes, it's a paradigm shift. You change how you see yourself or what you believe, and then it changes your actions,
Yep.
right? So something inside me said that you have to do this, but I was scared to do it because, I had a job. And so I was talking to someone and I said to her, I'm having these feelings, but I don't know how to act upon them. And she said, well, you're great at what you do, I'm sure, but there's nothing in your social media and you don't have a blog, right? And now, if this was now, she would have said, and you don't have a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to showcase what you're doing in your workshops online so other people can know what you're doing, right?
Okay.
And then as you develop that, here's the rule. Number one, you need 6 months of savings. If you don't have 6 months of savings, you're not ready. I like to have a year, but 6 months is a good, rule of thumb. Two, your skill sets have to earn twice your overhead. If you
Yep.
don't have that, you're not ready. You're just not ready. And so then you have to think of, okay, how do I do that? How do I package what I can do? And very simple, find 5 people, 5 entities that will pay you $2,000 a month. That's your first 6 figures, right? I'm giving you the game right now.
Oh, yeah. We
You know what I
taking
mean?
notes.
And as you get better and better and better, then all that changes. And so it took me 5 years before I can go full time.
Wow.
Now, I'll be honest though, in the first 2, 3, that wasn't my goal. It wasn't my goal. It just wasn't. But once I had the skill sets and I had the clientele, I was like, oh, okay, that's where my life is taking me. It's not for everybody though, and it's not for everybody because you will be away from your family. And here's the thing: this is not a job. This is a calling.
Yeah.
It's a calling. It's not a job. Now you can do it as a job, but you'll get burnt out real quick. Me, I don't get burnt out because it's my passion. It's a calling. You see what I'm saying? Like last night, I just got back from Chi-Town. I was in Illinois yesterday. I did a workshop. I mean, full day. Then I did a webinar that went national where 1,000 people signed up for it.
Wow.
Then I came back home and I'm working with clients all day, planning for this Sunday. I have a presentation for superintendents, but I'm here with you right now. You see what I'm
Man.
saying? And then next week, I have to go to Maryland. And then I have another school system that's an hour away. Then the week after that, I'm in Sacramento the whole week. Then after that, I'm in San Diego, Sacramento, Indiana, all in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah. So I generated the buzz, and now it's everybody. Well, a lot of people know, and they want to hire me. But that's the thing, though, that was earned. But it took years, and it's not for everybody. But you can do the part that you can do, and you can do your side hustle, and you can build that up. And if it's meant for you to do full time, you'll know. You'll know. And so I don't recommend doing that with small children, by the way. Like my children now are 20 and 17.
Yeah.
And when they were little, I definitely didn't leave them how I do now, but now they don't need me as much.
Yeah. Eh, well, so even with how you laid everything out, I want people to understand and not miss that key point that you just mentioned. Even though somebody out there might have those younger kids, what George is saying is you still have to start now, because to get that mastery is gonna take time. So if you do have that 5, 6, 7-year-old kid or younger, you still need to start now, because as things start to generate buzz, that kid is going to continue to get older. So when that time does happen and your name starts to get out there, now don't get me wrong, I would hope that blessing happens where it just you take off overnight. But in the event that that doesn't happen, you need to be prepared.
Yeah. So it's very rare that someone blows up overnight.
I tell these kids that.
It's rare. But when they do, and people tell you you're great, and they tell you you're great, and you believe it before you faced any real trials and tribulations, the burnout is quick. And I'm a living example. I will claim this here today, that hard work will eventually beat talent.
Wow.
Eventually, not right away.
Not right away.
Not right away, but it will. So for the talented people out there, it's hard to be humble when everybody's telling you, yo, you're it, you're this, and you're that. So it's always best, I think, to do things the right way. Do it slow. Do it slow, do it the right way. I highly recommend, if you're an entrepreneur, listen to the Ed Milet podcast. Ed Milet, he interviews the top entrepreneurs in the world. Dr. Ed is on there. um, Dean Graciosi's on there. Rory Vaden's on there. I'm not Now I don't want to say the guy's name, but I'll say his name. I'm Tony Robbins is on there. Um, I mean, he's one of the best, right?
Yeah.
And, you may not be a fan, but he's one of the best at what he does.
Yes,
And
he is.
so you learn from the top entrepreneurs. And what I love about his podcast is that he doesn't just want a seven-figure earner on his show. He wants a seven-figure father, wife,
Yes.
husband, person, all around person, right?
Yep.
Because if you think about it, life is not just about being an entrepreneur or having a job or a career. No, like, on your deathbed, that's not what you're going to be thinking about.
It is not.
You be thinking about your relationships, about your family, right? Yeah. And so I love his podcast because he brings on men and women that are talking about all those different things and how to excel at all those different things. And I hope that so Billy, he asked me a lot of entrepreneur stuff, but I hope you glean from from my conversation that that's not what I'm all about,
No.
24/7, right? Yeah.
No, no,
So
I picked up on it, and I hope everybody else did too. No, but you did say something, and about the hard work and the beating talent, like, because we've been talking about music all day, because we obviously, you could tell me and George love music, and I want you to think about it, and I'm talking about those people out there, especially the younger generation, because that overnight success doesn't happen. When you're talking about the mastery, you have to already be putting in that work. And so you think about your musicians and you're like, oh, one hit wonders and all that. The individuals that all of a sudden that do get those breaks that are out the blue, one that comes to my mind is like a Soldier Boy. He might have got the break out the blue, but he had done work in the background that nobody knew about. That way he was able to keep going. But then you get those individuals, those artists that were, you're great, you're great, you're great, and they get the break, and then they have nothing to follow up with because they didn't do the work. You can see it even on social media, TikTok or whatever. They get the break and they go viral, but they have no content to back it up to keep going. So make sure you put in the work. Go ahead, George. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like Soldier Boy, right? And now I'll be honest, I was a little too old for Soldier Boy.
Me too. Me too. I got a couple
But
that I like, but me too.
but but the man is super talented.
Man.
And not only is he talented at the music thing, but the products that he makes and his interviews. If you watch one of his interviews, he's one of the greatest interviewees. I mean, he's hilarious. He
Yes.
does the funniest things. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't listen to a lot of the music, but I definitely tune in when he's on, and he can hold the audience.
Yes.
And success is not an accident, y'all.
It's not.
Success is not an accident. Success is not an accident. It's not. Now, if someone didn't truly earn it, it'll be temporary. But if you see
Yep.
somebody for 20, 30 years doing something, and the reason why I'm hyping up Soldier Boy is because he's like 20 years in the game. He wouldn't be in the game that long if he didn't have something that he was contributing. And
Exactly.
so that's the thing that we have to understand.
Man, I couldn't have put that any better because that success that you're talking about, it doesn't happen overnight. Every now and then it does, but it takes time. But to see the success, it takes time. Like you literally, like you said earlier with basketball, those famous basketball players, they weren't just success because they made it to the NBA. What made them the success was the things they've done throughout their career with that longevity. Like it's a bunch of people that made it to the NBA. A bunch of people made it to the NFL. A bunch of people that became speakers, but the ones that you know, those successful ones, the ones that have a story, they left their mark throughout the generations.
Mm.
It wasn't just here one year, gone the next, and we remember who they are. They left their mark in every single season, every single year. The Jay-Z's of the world, the Soldier Boys, like they left their mark. And you have to remember that. And I say that because, George, you're leaving a mark.
Oh,
Your
thank
name
you,
is
man.
buzzing. Hey,
Wow.
that's why you're already known. You're already around. That's why I couldn't wait to get you on. I'm, by the way, just to let you know, you got to come back because I got a whole bunch of other questions. But as you're leaving your mark, what's that one thing that you would tell that person that's watching you right now? They just heard your story from the family man that you are, where you started with your parents and everything, going different states and moving throughout, getting degrees. For that person that's trying to leave their mark like you, because you are the person that you needed back then, and you are the person now that somebody else needs. What would be that one thing, two things, that inspiration, that thing they ignite with inside of them, so they can start to leave their mark on this world?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say is this, man. So like before I even say that, uh, wh- to hear someone say that I'm leaving a mark and speak about me in that light, I'm not yet comfortable with that. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't plan that. So I appreciate you saying that. And I'm gonna take that, but I can't sit here and be like, yeah, you're welcome, right? Like I'm just not there, right?
That's not you anyway.
Yeah, yeah, nah, it's not me. But I'll say this though. Here's what I wrote down. So I spoke at the Senate in 2017, about 6 years ago, and I was shook. I was real nervous. But something inside me said, if God didn't want you to be there, man, you just wouldn't be there. So I didn't have anybody to tell me any affirmations, anything like that. So I just wrote something down. You want me to read it
Yes,
real
yes,
quick? And
yes.
this is what I read for 2 years until I believed it. All right, so let me look it up real quick. I know I sent it to someone one time. All right, so And I'm reading this because I feel it'll help someone. And it's called Words of Encouragement to Self. You have worked extremely hard to develop yourself as a man, father, and expert in your field of work. You have prayed to God to make you an expert and to use you to help others, family, friends, students, and teachers. He has heard this prayer many times and has accepted it. The opportunity that has been provided to you today is a result of His grace, your hard work, and your prayers. You wouldn't be here today if He didn't want you to be here and if you weren't meant to be here. If someone you care about is not supporting you and isn't present to support you today, don't take it personal. Forgive them and understand they weren't meant to be there because God didn't invite them. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means they weren't invited. And not everyone is meant to be with you at all times. Have strong faith that God has your back and He will put the right words on your tongue and also the right people in your path to help you fulfill your life's mission and goals. God loves you. I love you. I love you. I love you. That's what people need to tell themselves. And you are a kind man with a lot to offer the world. Always remain true, humble, and you'll be fine no matter the outcome. So I had to give myself like 2 paragraphs, but you believe it. And now you can have no problem in sharing it with somebody because you know it's going to help them.
Wow. I'm not even touching that. I'm gonna go back and watch that a few more times because I want to read that. I needed that.
How about I just text that to you, man? And
Yes,
it'll be
because
good.
I needed that. That touched a different chord because we I call it the who motivates the motivator. You see what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
motivator's always pouring, and we find ways to pour back in ourselves. But who motivates the motivator? Like, yes, I understand your why and the things that keep you going, but who motivates the person that does everything? Like, I get that. Like that really, yeah, I'm gonna need that.
Well,
So
look,
it's somebody. Go ahead, go
we're
ahead.
fam now, bro. You and I are fam now.
Oh
And now
yeah,
we locked
always.
in. Mark Lee, the show producer. Mark, your brother. Now you know who I am. I know who you are. And you're doing great work. All of you brothers are. And I'm proud. I'm proud to be here with y'all.
Now, it's somebody out there, and I don't want to miss this opportunity for those individuals. How is somebody that wants to get in touch with you, whether to get coaching or to utilize your services? Like, what are the ways that somebody can get a hold of you, George?
Yeah, so I'm putting my handle in the chat is at George, Jorge, does PBL. And that's my handle for everything. It's on
Okay.
Twitter, it's on IG, and there's a there's a Linktree link that's on all my accounts. It's got my speakers page, it's got my email, it's got all my info, so they can hit me up that way. And
Okay.
so I'm doing organizations, even corporate, coaching, life coach, you name it, bro. Okay, I got y'all.
Don't worry. I will make sure all of that information gets to the description on YouTube, but
My
it
man.
will be in its description. So if you haven't already liked, subscribed, and started sharing on this channel, make sure you go to YouTube, Strategic Dope. I will have all that information for George in the description. But brother, I must tell you, on behalf of everybody that's listening, watching, the ones that are watching later on, we must say thank you, especially giving you your flowers right now, because the things that you're doing is amazing. The way you're inspiring and helping others and helping people pursue their passion. We want to say thank you because you're doing amazing work, and we all appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you, fam.
Now, don't go nowhere because I want to talk to you real quick
I'm
after
right
the
here.
show.
I'm right
But
here.
I just want to say again, thank you, and I see you on the side, brother.
One love.
Man, I don't know about y'all. If you did not get something from George, for one, George got he ignited a fire within me. I'm ready to do some work, and I don't even know what work I'm about to do. I know I need to start doing something because I already have my purpose. I have my passion. I have my goals. But it's something about talking to George and listening to his story and what inspired him, how he helps others. It just makes me want to get out there and do more to help others. And hopefully it has made you want to get out there and help others as well, because you do have a purpose. The person you are today, you needed that person in the past. And somebody out there right now needs you to help them become the person that they need to be for themselves. So, man, let your passion fuel your purpose. Use your GPS to get to your destination and continue to live the life that you were designed to live. And remember, it's only one way to do that. And that's to live your life with purpose, on purpose. Man, I love this week. I'm looking forward to the guests next week because I know it's going to be amazing. But thank you all for tuning in again. I can't wait to see y'all next week. But until then, y'all stay safe. And remember to live in your purpose, with purpose, on purpose. I'll see y'all next week.
I'm back.
Every time I walk out that door, every time I interact with anybody new, my purpose is to help change.
It's time to celebrate life. If you know that you're in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know you want better for your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you have what it takes to be in charge of your life, it's time to stand up. If you know that you are not just trying to be good for you, but for those around you, it's time to stand up. As a matter of fact, look to the person to your left and tell them you are enough.
I want to help you change, and just like you change, every time I interact with somebody, they help me change. It's no different than if I met an individual and they had 4 quarters and they needed change, or if I had $1 and they had 4 quarters, I need to change. We can swap the money. The value is still the same. They still got $1, I still got $1, but we both exchanged something, and it was a change for both of us. So every time I walk out that door, I inspire to help change lives just as much as lives have changed me.
Y'all been listening to the wrong people, watching the wrong things all your life, and it's time to put to rest all those negative thoughts, because you are enough. It's time to put to rest that self-doubt, because you are enough. It is time to get rid of that negative energy, because you are enough. It is time to stop listening to people that don't have the best interests of you in your life, because you are enough. So let's have a moment of silence. I want everybody to understand that you are the person that's in charge of your life. Everything that you have inside of you to be who you're supposed to be in life. You have a destiny, and that destiny can only be accomplished through you, by you, and only you, with the help of God. When you realize that you are the person you are, because you're not a carbon copy, there's only one you. They try to put you in a box. Society tries to put you in a box, but you can't be in a box. How can you be in a box when there's only one you? But then they tell you, think outside the box. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there is no box.
I want to pass on the things that I have to the generations behind me. By the time it's time for me to get called home and go to the grave, I want to be empty. I believe in bankrupting the cemetery, so I can't take this knowledge with me, because the cemetery is already full of brilliant ideas and unwritten books and innovative ideas. I can't take this with me, so I'm trying to leave it all here as Billy Graham Jr. to the next generation so somebody else can carry it on.